thanks so much for joining us on Ludgate's Member
Nice
Spotlight feature. So this is John Ryan of Weekend Away Swap. So John, tell me a little bit firstly about yourself.
I suppose I wrote as a music writer for various publishing companies for quite a few years, segued into doing stage shows, writing those. In fact, there were a couple produced in the Everyman in Cork, which is a local connection, I suppose.
Yeah.
From there, I was signed up with lots of West End agencies like Food and Rose, like VSA, and in tandem with that then, I was a partner in setting up and dealing with some cafes, and also partner in a furniture store, which I travelled extensively abroad with for bring back one-off pieces, went down into places like all through South America, Cuba, right across Africa, various places like that, to bring one-off pieces back. And that basically, so you could say I have a foot in both the artistic and the business.
Amazing, yeah, what a great background, fantastic skill set attained, I'd say.
That's still alive anyway.
That diversity there. So then tell us a little bit then about your new business, Weekend Away Swap, and how it came about.
Yes, as a business, I guess the easiest way to describe this is that it sits between something like Airbnb and a, I suppose, traditional house swap. In that Airbnb is really well set up for people to rent a home for the weekend, but you pay for each one separately. A long-term or a house swap basically is a much bigger commitment, in that you're, for the most part, going abroad. It's for probably 2 to 4 weeks, so it takes a lot more effort. Where we are at the moment, we sit in between those two, in that for one annual subscription, you get to go as many times as you want or don't. 52 weekends or no weekends, it's your choice, but you pay only once, and therefore the more people that are on site, I guess, the more choice there is for those people to go places. The genesis of the idea was a very simple one. I had friends who were living in Oxford in England. They like to go to the West End to see shows. They were finding it more and more difficult to get accommodation, affordable accommodation, I suppose, particularly on the weekends. They wanted it. So I was just talking to them and said it wouldn't be a very simple thing if you were to go to a house in London and live in that for the 2 days. You'd only be using it as a base, and that family went to yours in Oxford and just enjoy Oxford. They mightn't have been there before, get their bikes up with them, ride around, do whatever. So that's the genesis of the idea. Didn't do anything with it for a year or two, as always the case. And I suppose with maybe COVID last year or whatever, it just began to crystallize a little more. So I went to a design company and designed it over a period of 4 to 5 months. We got the site up and running. I thought it would be a very easy little site to do. In fact, it turned out to be quite difficult in the end, because it was a little more complex than I had originally envisaged. But it's there now. We wanted it to be perfect before it went out to the public. So that's where we are at the moment.
Yeah. And would you say that COVID and lockdown and all of that really allowed you to focus on this?
Yeah, I think so, yes, I think so, because people have gained an appreciation, I think, of what's in this country over the last 2 years, more so than they had. I think everybody should go abroad. I think it's a rite of passage for kids. I think it's really important for them to see a new culture, a bit of sunshine and relax. It's just important in general. But I think there are another 50 weekends of the year where you might want your batteries recharged, where it's just something that you can, it's not for everybody maybe, but I mean, it's something that you could envisage doing, just throwing the bikes in the car, just going to someplace else, just getting the kids out on the surfboard, just doing unusual things that you wouldn't normally do. It's to recharge your batteries basically in September, maybe in March, maybe in, and you can do it as many times as you want. And also there are a lot of hidden gems here that we never even think about. There are counties that are, I suppose, that are not on the coastline, that have really nice things to offer as well, and we never go there for the most part. So that's what it's about.
Yeah, exploring our own country.
It is, yeah.
We have some lovely hidden gems.
Absolutely.
So it's that perfect sweet spot, really, between the Airbnb and, as you said, it's hitting the right note. And this obviously depends on how often you go, but it can be as little as a price of a cup of coffee, if you go fairly regularly.
Yes.
So tell the viewers or the listeners today how much it actually costs to subscribe.
Yeah, it's €120 is the annual subscription, and there's no other charge.
Great.
And for that, obviously, the more people that are on, the more choice you have. But at the beginning as well, for early adopters, we are, as every business has to, offer certain stuff. So I mean, there would be a certain amount of early adopters who will get this for free, just for the first month or two,
Okay.
to get people on board.
Yes.
And from there on, like I say, it's 120 per year. We think it's a really good value of that, because I mean, once you go for a weekend any place, it's going to set you back quite an amount, and that money that you save, although it isn't all about saving money, it's about the location in one way and going to someplace different. But I mean, the money that you save can be used to eat out, to do whatever you want in that area that you would normally be putting into accommodation. So it's a win-win in that situation, you know.
And you spoke there about children and heading off on holidays. If I'm taking the 3 kids with me, there's a family of 5 in it.
Yes.
If I'm going to a hotel, I don't have much change for a 2-night away, out of maybe €450 to €500. You know, so it is really expensive, and I feel like I'm held back, and I'm holding my kids back from experiencing all of the hidden gems around Ireland because of the financial restraints, you know. So the ability to hop in a car and go and be able to explore for a minimum fee of 120 per annum, and of course those early adopters will get this for free. So it is really a no-brainer.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, I mean, people should go to hotels as well. I'm not advocating that everybody should use something like this. I mean, it's important that you do that as well, but this is an added extra for a very small amount of money that allows you to use every weekend or no weekend, depending on what you want to do. So in that regard, I think it's certainly worthwhile looking into for people and seeing what's available on the site, you know.
And tell me, as a first-time user, how do I sign up? How easy is it?
Yeah, it's always a little more difficult, I guess, to put your house on something rather than actually deciding to make a swap with somebody. Once you're on board, it's probably 10 minutes to get you on board. It's not difficult. We designed it in such a way that it's relatively easy for even non-technical people to get through this. It's pretty simple. Once you're on board, then it's about 2 or 3 clicks to make a swap after that. You don't have to worry about it once you're on board. It's about 10 minutes.
Great.
To get you on.
Great. So just log on to the Weekend Away
Swap
website.
Yes. And from there, basically, it takes you through it step by step.
Great. And it's like a 4-step process, as far as I remember, on your website. You have it quite nicely visualized as well, and people can't go wrong. And they upload the photos then of their house.
Upload the photos of their house.
As many as they want.
As many as they want, and also we'd encourage them to upload photos of the locality, which is because we see this as both a date and a locality driven site rather than a house driven site.
Yes.
So we'd see them uploading things like that, and also putting on the site areas of interest that people might like to go to when they're coming down from a different county, from a different place, you know. We will have a fairly extensive, and there is a fairly extensive, I suppose, amount of businesses and amenities and activities on the site in each locality, which will let you know when you come and even before you come. And that's really important, that you can look it up. If you're coming down a weekend in April down to here, Skibbereen, you can look on the site and there will be a list of things to do in Skibbereen, a list of amenities, a list of activities for kids, a list of some restaurants. And I suppose a slightly longer term goal would be to get a percentage off of all those for members of the site. So if you're a member of it, you might get 10% off a meal here, 10% off an activity for the kids. If you go to Clan, maybe 10% off surfing, something like that.
So that's the kind of long-term vision of this business, is that it's a one-stop shop really for knowing what's on in the area, what are the activities I can do. So you're planning your event, your trip nearly before you even get there.
That's the whole idea.
And it's all centralised, and then you might have a discount package.
Timing is everything when you're going for a small trip like this. It's only 2 days. You're not using the house, so we see it as just a base, basically. So after that, if you're going to Clonakilty, saying kids had never tried surfing, then you can ring up, because it'll be right there in front of you. You can ring up the surf school and say, okay, could we book a lesson at 12 o'clock? In the long term, what we'd like to do is get those people on board and say, yeah, sure you can, you're a member of Weekend Away Swap, you get your 10% off to get you there, you know?
Fantastic,
So it's, I suppose, about involving local business. That's important as well to us.
So by the end of the year, how many people would you like signed up on the platform?
It's impossible to say. It's very difficult. I mean, what we're looking for at the moment is we're looking at this as a situation where it's all Ireland for starters, both north and south. Obviously, the more people we get on, the more choice there are for those members. But we would see it as maybe it's impossible to figure out. It's really difficult. As many as we can get, put it like
with
that.
a good geographical spread around.
Absolutely, that's the whole idea. And we see this eventually, the long term. That's short to medium term, I guess. But long term, we think there is something transferable in this. That it's a concept that's transferable. So instead of, for instance, you might go here from, I don't know, Dingle to Kenmare or Westport to Sligo, but that could easily be transferred from Bristol to Bath, Toulouse to Toulon. It's a system that can work in any territory.
I think so too.
So they have long-term goals for it.
Fantastic. And John, then you're a new member to Ludgate, so it's fantastic to have you on board. We're delighted to have Weekend Away Swap here, and we'll be delighted to see the growth of the business over the coming months, which is the exciting part.
So
So in terms of Ludgate and using Ludgate, what has been the value add in terms of supports that you would see of being a member here?
Yeah, I guess the first thing is that the amount of access to contacts that I certainly wouldn't have, and individual members bring in that into the Ludgate, but also the Ludgate itself as an entity has a huge amount of access to contacts, and I found that very useful at the moment. Secondly, when you're developing a business and you're at this stage of it, it's really nice because you're so close to it. It's really nice to have somebody who can look at it, who can run the rule over it, who has experience, who can say, look, maybe you should be moving it this way, maybe you shouldn't be moving it that way. And that's been really important as well at this stage, and I'm hoping that continues. And I guess another thing is that there are, I suppose, that there is a real can-do attitude here, and that drips down all the time, and that's really important. In that, even though the Ludgate mightn't have any skin in the game exactly, but they still want every project that comes in to succeed, and that is a real confidence boost when you're just beginning something, because beginning anything can be a little daunting. I've been at, like I said, at the genesis of lots of different businesses, but each one brings its own problems and brings its own, each one can create different little problems that you have to get over, and the Ludgate does help you with that, without a doubt. Yeah,
well, we're delighted to hear that, and for me, that really is success. From a Ludgate perspective, that is really success, is giving those supports to businesses to be able to get over the bumps in the road, get over the hurdles, and maybe to even predict what's going to happen in the future.
Absolutely,
so
that is important.
We're at the forefront of it, and we can remediate quickly and move on.
There's a lot of experience here, and you need that. You need that because, like I'm saying, every business throws up its own bumps, slightly different ones, but I mean, that is why I certainly enjoy the time I've been down here, and I mean, there are so many facets to it. I mean, also the technical end of it, and getting to know people here like Mary, who's doing some of that technical stuff for us now, when it's not completely my forte, is also excellent to have.
No, it's for those real practical supports that businesses need.
Yes.
I mean, we all know the templates that a business can start out with, but it's how do you populate them, you know? So I think that kind of real support, that real-time support is really necessary. So John, thank you so much for taking the time out today to talk to us on the Member Spotlight.
My pleasure.
You're very welcome to Ludgate, and hopefully this time next year we'll sit down again and we'll see where Weekend Away Swap is at, and I'm sure it'll be thriving.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Fiona.
Thank you.